All right, there we go. Sorry
Are
about
we
that.
on? Mental in the boardroom. Upgrade.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah,
In
that's
the
sick, dude. Couple of Billy sleds in the background. A few posters. What do you got on the wall there?
little Chokes poster, like I'm not sure who did them, but they're like artwork.
Yeah, it's like a
Someone's
tripped out airbrush. That thing looks
yeah,
psycho.
pretty sick.
Man, it's cosmic. I was just while we waited for the Zoom and Wi-Fi to link up, I was just watching some buried, recently released footage of the Stubbies comp, the 77
Yeah.
Stubbies Pro. Have you seen that out on the Tracks website?
I have, yeah. It's pretty sick. Huh?
How sick is it? Are you serious? I can't believe that at this late stage they're still unearthing bits of gold like that.
Yeah, I know. You'd think it'd all be out there. It's like pretty good quality footage too.
Yeah. What do you make of stuff like that when you see, an event like that held at your, I guess, one of your home breaks?
Oh, I love watching the old school stuff. It's so cool. And yeah, the old Burleigh stuff's pretty classic. Just like so many, they took such different lines back then, and it's like some cool stuff still, like the way they ride the way up on the nose and the barrel and stuff. It's pretty sick. I always love watching the old Hawaii comps when like the sunset event would just go mobile to Waimea Bay and shit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. We'll just go mobile to 30-foot Waimea.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's wild. It's so sick, man. It's amazing how many turns, like how high performance that Stubby's era is. Like how many turns they're able to rip off and link and combo up. It's psycho. You kind of forget how advanced surfing was at that time, even though they were on single fins and it seems so long ago. Man, it was proper high performance surfing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we do that single fin contest at Burleigh every year, and I don't think anyone's surfing much better than those guys who are on the single fins. They were ripping those boards. It's that footage you're talking about. So cool to watch. It's definitely worth checking out.
Fully, fully. And I mean, you've grown up with guys who are in that event. Like, I mean, talk to us about the influence of some of those guys on your surfing, on you as a person. I mean, pretty crazy to have that kind of pedigree to be able to draw on, being from a club like Burleigh.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. As you said, there's that long lineage of good surfers from there and guys that have kind of taken the path before me. So yeah, it's pretty cool to lean on those sorts of guys and their experiences. But yeah, I think definitely early days makes you humble. It was pretty like I kind of caught the very end of it when it was still pretty full on out there, and then it kind of mellowed way out. But yeah, it's like a cool community. Everyone's pretty close. A lot of funny characters. But yeah, then when the waves are on, it's pretty sick. Everyone's just young and old out there enjoying it. You're watching like some of the old legends getting shacked, and then like little Groms getting barreled as well. It's pretty cool.
Such a sick joint. Like the Cove is so consequential, and like just amazing. Some of the approaches and surfers and just the pure read on thick ocean that the surfers that come out of there have. Guys like Rasta really springs to mind. I'll never forget
Mm.
that section. I believe I can't remember, Stranger Than Fiction or Campaign or one of those Taylor Steele films at Burley, and he's riding like a Dick Van Stralen 20 that I feel like it might even be under 5 foot. Like it's a tiny little board, and
Yeah.
he's getting the fucking craziest like that. It's just got that lip line. Nowhere else has that. Burley's so infamous for that thickness, that trippy lip line.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like it can be incredible and as good as waves get, but it's so fickle. It can be like the worst wave possible or like the best wave possible. It's pretty funny like that. But yeah, it's definitely rare, but when it's on, it's so fun and so unique, like you said. But yeah, watching guys like Rasta ride it, Bottle, even like Dwayne Harris, a few of the goofy footers like Jesse. There's a ton of good surfers that just have a real good read on like a below sea level down the line barrel. It's pretty cool to watch. It's cool. There's heaps of underground dudes that ride it really well, and you can kind of draw a bit of inspiration from.
Yeah, it must be psycho committing to something that thick, yet with an air of unpredictability about it being a sand bottom wave.
Yeah, I mean it's nice that it's sand bottom. You're not like going into some rocks or some shit when you fall off. So it's like kind of friendly, but yeah, it definitely gets heavy on its day, especially around the top at Sharkies. It can get pretty thick, and yeah, you can get pretty flogged. But no, there's nothing better than when you like get the line right and stick the airdrop, and you just like can just sit in one and watch it just sort of spin around you. It's pretty cool. But man, I haven't surfed it good for so long. I swear I don't know, it's pretty fickle, and then every good swell I've been away for. So itching for another good day out there.
Fully. Yeah, and as you mentioned, you caught the tail end of the bad old days at Burleigh, where it was, pretty much the most localized zone on the East Coast, maybe apart from North Narrabeen or Maroubra on its day, I guess. But yeah, like, so you were kind of part of a changing of the guard there, where the Board Riders Club went from being this really heavy place to actually really investing a lot into its juniors. They'd like probably the best junior development program in the country, right? For a period there, and I think that you were kind of part of that first wave of Groms to really benefit from the kind of changing face of Burleigh board riders.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I came in right as they were trying to change it up and make it a bit more like junior focused, and trying to bring up the next gen. And that was sort of through Eddie Lindors, who was the president at the time. That's like the first sort of person I met from the club. I was just surfing one day and they were doing a junior sign on. I think I was about like 9. I was surfing with my dad. And yeah, kind of went and met Ed, and he was sort of gave us the rundown of what was going on, and the rest is history pretty much. But yeah, when I first started, there was like 2 other kids that were under 14 in the club. It was like bugger all kids in it. And then they started doing like little camps, and they take there was like that. There's that Talabudra Rec Center, which is like a school camp. They've got like all sorts of freaking activities there, and they'd like rent it out for a couple of nights a year and take all the kids over there. And then that just like, I think that camp, them doing that camp just exploded the club. Like everyone wanted to join so they could go and like get in on the camp and do all this fun stuff. So it went from like 3 of us to like 50 kids in the club, and it was huge, and it was pretty cool. It was just like, yeah, I met all my best friends through the club, and yeah, you always had someone to surf with. Just get dropped off at the point, school holidays, and hang down there all day, just surf. I don't know, I swear in your memory the waves are always pumping. I don't know why that is, but yeah, just sit down there all day every holidays and have the best time. So yeah, it was cool to be part of that time when the club sort of shifted, and there was that big influx of the younger generation. And yeah, it was really good. It bred a lot of good surfers, guys like Zawa. We're all kind of the same age. And yeah, it was definitely a cool little time. And then now it's still going now. There's a ton of really good kids coming through, and cool. I like the idea of it being a bit more of a community thing, and yeah, being something that's going to benefit the next gen.
Yeah, and talk to us about how the wave itself has shaped your surfing. Obviously, like your front side's a real strength, and I was just watching Wandering, the edit that you put out. I guess it was earlier this year, and mate, one thing that really stands out about it is you're able to blend like savage front side gaffs, but then like really, steeze it out and feel the contour of the wave changing, and kind of add this a bit of X factor and flair to your frontside surfing that is just so watchable, man. Far out. I could watch it all day. I love that film. We'll get into it in a bit more detail shortly. But yeah, talk to us about the way, Burleigh shapes you, and what are some of the trademarks of the elite surfers that come out of that part of the world.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for the compliment. I feel like I'm just bogging the rail the rest of the time. So it's nice. It's not always the case, but no, it's like, as I said, it's like it can take on so many different forms out there. It's not always like below sea level and tubing. That's kind of like the rare, really good days. But a lot of the time it's kind of a broken up, rippable bowly point break. So yeah, you get a lot of good sections to try carves and try and link a few turns together. But then it's not like a snapper where it's so mechanical that you kind of can't get many waves. You're just like waiting for someone to fall off. So you get a lot of waves, and lot of like different sections. Some days it can be like a beachy, some days it's running down the line a bit more. So yeah, it's a cool spot as a point break. You get a lot of variety, and I think that's helped a lot with my front side for sure. I mean, most guys that come from the Goldie, guys and girls that come from the Goldie, are pretty good on the forehand. The backhand's usually not the best, but yeah, you get plenty of reps going right, and yeah, Burleigh's good just because you get all that variety, heaps of different sections.
Mm. And now you're actually from up the coast a bit, right? Like, so is it Benowa? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, yeah. I've always lived in Benowa, which is probably 25-minute drive from Burleigh. It's pretty much directly west of Surfers Paradise. It's just a little suburb up the coast. Long story short, but yeah, as I said, how I ended up in the Burleigh Border Riders was I didn't all my family are from Vico, so they don't. I was born up here, but they'd moved up before I was born, and they didn't know much about the Border Rider scene and all that. So I was just surfing the point with my dad one day, and we signed up, and obviously, yeah, it all worked out. It was a great time, but as you know, you can't you can't abandon your club. That's just sacrilege. So I've been in the Burleigh. I've kind of been like bridging the two worlds a little bit. But it's kind of funny. There's like Louis Hind who lives down there, and he's always surfed in North End, which is kind of closer to where I live. And then I've done the opposite. I've always surfed for Burleigh, but lived up this end.
Yeah, and before I forget, we should acknowledge too that Burleigh, like, they played a really amazing role, really kind of selfless role in raising some funds for you, right? In the early days of your World Tour career, to kind of help subsidize some of the travel costs, which is an amazing thing. I mean, like, you kind of missed the golden years of the surf industry when there was huge dollars around. So, how helpful was it to have the support of your club in a financial sense? And what did that mean to you in terms of, generating a bit of extra motivation?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that I owe everything to the club. Like, as I said, I've met all my best friends. They've supported me since I was a tiny little kid, helped me get sponsors, helped me get better at surfing. Like, my coach bottles from the club. Like, it's just like this big community that's sort of helped bring me from a little kid to where I am now. So yeah, I owe them everything. And yeah, to get a bit of financial help when it was like tough to get around on the Kiwi and that sort of thing, like it's pretty cool. You feel a bit awkward because you're like, oh, I don't want to like, take money off the club and whatever. But yeah, I mean, it felt really cool to have them behind me. And yeah, definitely, like you said, it motivates you because you've got a bit more on your shoulders or a bit more to surf for than just your own cause. You kind of feel like you got your whole community on your back as well. So that was really cool. And yeah, forever grateful for that.
And can we attribute part of that extra motivation to blocking Jeremy Flores from a wave in your debut event at Rottnest? I mean, that's such a wild maneuver, but it's right out of the Burleigh board riders playbook of just like you're there to compete. It doesn't matter who you're up against. And it seemed like I love that kind of stuff, man. I love seeing plucky young upstarts just going super hard at veterans right from the get-go. We watch the Brazilians come on tour and do that, and I think that really is what sport's all about. I get psyched off that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I got a bit carried away in that heat. But yeah, nothing but respect for Jeremy. But yeah, I was kind of just like, I mean, and in all those heats when I'd get a chance at like a big, get a chance as a wild card in a CT or get a chance in a bigger QS, higher rated QS than I'd been in, it'd be kind of like, fuck, I've got like, I've got nothing, I've got no sponsor, or I've got no money or whatever. I gotta try and just make this work. So yeah, I mean, it's never anything personal. It's like if someone's going for it, that's just sort of competition. And yeah, never meant any disrespect or anything like that. But I don't know. I was just like, fuck, I just got to try and do everything I can to get through these heats and try and make something of it. I don't want to like burn out and die wondering, so to speak. So yeah, I think you gotta take it to the old guard a little bit. Because I've definitely had heats where I've just sort of like I mean, my nature is pretty standoffish, so I kind of got to like amp myself up a bit. Like, oh fuck, come on, have a bit of a crack here. So yeah, I mean, you gotta take it to him. Otherwise, you're done before you even begin. everyone's only human, and yeah, you got to see what you're made of.
And is that the chat in the coach's corner and amongst some of your mentors and the older guys at Burleigh? Are they giving you those kinds of instructions, revving you up and just going, mate, like, ain't no friends at this level. Like, have a crack, mate. Like, don't die wondering.
Um, a little bit. I mean, I was working with Bottle a lot, and his little quote, I think he might have got it off Bob Hurley, was just to have a healthy disrespect for the status quo. Um, yeah, and don't just sort of defer to the way things are. If you want to get yourself in amongst it, then go and have a go and test yourself and see how far you can go with it.
Mm. And it's been one of the signatures of your career so far is like you seem to really perform well in high pressure situations. You put up big numbers at Margs this year, needing a result to stay on tour, up against Slater. And you've gotten the nod over Toledo at least a couple of times in pretty high pressure scenarios, to including at Margs in that same event. I believe you put up a mammoth total, including a 9 to get the nod over Toledo. And you also you beat him at Rottnest on debut too, which is fucking wild considering the conditions. It was like, light kind of onshore crumbly left ramps from memory, and you beat him there. But yeah, I mean, how do you feel like, is that something that kind of suits you? Do you feel like you enjoy the pressure, you enjoy coming up against the big names?
I guess somewhat. I feel like it's almost counterintuitive. I feel like I've got less pressure, or maybe not counterintuitive. I feel like I've just got less pressure when I'm against a big name because I'm kind of expected to lose. So it's almost liberating. You're just sort of free to just go and surf. You're like, all right, well, this guy's going to absolutely rip. So I got to surf as good as I can to even get near him. And yeah, you're almost just asking the question of them. It's like, all right, I'm going to go as hard as I can, and then you'll probably beat me, but if you happen to mess up or make a few mistakes, then maybe I'll have a chance. So that's kind of the logic in those heats. I feel way more pressure when it's like a heat I'm expected to make. It's like fucking melting, going shit. But yeah, those ones where it's against a big name, I don't know. You have all these, obviously all the thoughts like, fuck, how the hell am I going to beat that guy out there? Like, it's especially like someone like Felipe, he's that good. So I don't know, you kind of get to this point where you're like, well, I mean, everyone expects me to lose anyway. So if I can even come close and put a few good waves together, then that's a win. And yeah, sometimes those guys make mistakes and you get lucky.
Mm. And you mentioned, surfers from the Goldie often end up with a weaker backside. But one of the things about growing up at Benowa is like it's really close to Stratty, right? And I've heard, people told me that you're the closest thing to a local that joint's got. You're on it all the time. How did that wave shape you?
Yeah, that was just a nice like fun beachy that's close to home. So you go left, you go right. It's kind of like a D-bar sort of wave. Then there's the spit as well, where you get like some funky little left wedges off the wall and stuff every now and then. And I guess it's just going left was the main way it shaped me. I didn't got a bit of practice in on the backhand, got off the right points for a bit. And yeah, I wouldn't say my backhand's like my strength or anything, but it's just nice to be able to have the option if it is all lefts and be able to put up some sort of a score. But yeah, it's kind of been cool living up the north end. You're always sort of, well, from where I live, it's kind of inland, so it's a drive to the beach no matter where I go. So I've always kind of been hunting the best waves on offer. I feel like if I lived close to the beach, I'd probably just surf out the front and wouldn't think into it too much. Whereas it's like, well, I've got to drive anyway. I might as well go and think into this a bit more and like try and seek out a better wave or a type of wave that I want to practice in or want to go and surf. So it's good in that respect. It keeps you on your toes and keeps your variety up because yeah, definitely I'll get bored surfing the point and then I'll go surf the beaches and then I'll get bored surfing the beaches and go down the point. So it's kind of good in that respect.
Yeah, I'd say versatility is really a strength, or at least like in your film Wandering, that was the thing that really stood out about that film. Like just the versatility on rails I mentioned, in the air, like some super technical punts are. I think there's like this backside Staley or something that's wild, like such a technical. It's a move that seems almost impossible. It's in layman's for the punter, the layman, but you stick a real buttery one in that, and just big tubes, man. Holy smokes! Obviously, all that time at Stratty has really helped you get the front side knife super dialed because, it's just a fucking psycho knife and cone fest wandering. One of the reasons I really loved it. The opening section at this kind of backdoor-esque beach break is all time, like proper double overhead cones, some vertical drops where you're just knifing under the lip and you really got to get going through some big psycho chambers. Mate, tell us about that session.
Yeah, it was pretty fun session. Yeah, we just walked up to this beachy one arvo, and it was like no one out, and we're kind of watching it for a bit, like, is it any good? And then we just saw a few sets come through. I'm like, fuck, it looks pretty good. Then tried to paddle out, and it was like way bigger than we thought it was. And we were all just about drowning on the paddle out. And then just got out there, and it was just like this incredible beach break, just on steroids. It's just like these big peaks coming in everywhere, like really good waves everywhere you looked, pretty much. And I was lucky to ride a few pretty fun ones that day. But there was actually another day of that trip where there was a really strong current kind of going down the beach. So it was like there was this one little section that was really good, and the rest of the beach was good too, but like not the same. And I remember that day, I didn't really get any waves, but I just was looking, like stuck in the current paddling, looking up the beach, and just saw some of the most incredible waves roll through. Just these like big square barrels, like a lot bigger than that other session. I was like, holy shit, like it'd be pretty cool to get some of those. So yeah, it was a pretty special little trip, that one. We kind of just got blessed with waves. I was actually over there for a comp, and I lost first heat. And it's a bit of a blessing in disguise, because I just ended up going and hunting waves the whole time, and got to score that beachy pretty good.
Yeah, wow, that's cosmic, man. Yeah, because it's one of the kind of really difficult things to balance as a young professional surfer or a world tour surfer of any age, really, is keeping that free surfing content flowing. Because it's a hell time putting together films and getting clips. B, it can be just as good, if not better, for your profile as a surfer, having clips like that. So yeah, getting the opportunity to compile so many banger clips in such a short window, that was something that really appealed to me about that film as well, is that it's like it's a trip based film. You kind of, you're saying you're in Indo for the start of it, and like you can tell it's all been put together in such a short amount of time. All those clips have been compiled essentially in the space of a few days. So it really does give us a really good idea of where your surfing is at. Hard to fathom a beach break holding that sort of sized waves with that kind of shape, like fully like backdoor. It's fucking mind blowing.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. It's like a little Porto Escondido or something. But
I
it's
love,
amazing beachy. Fuck, we're pretty blown away.
mate, the last one, I think it's the closer, where you body surf out of a proper like 8 to 10 foot pit that you've knifed and just getting the knife in and pumping through those sections, like, yeah, you're going light speed. It's so critical.
Oh yeah, I butchered that. But yeah, that was such a dreamy wave. It just like, that was when I first got out there. It just came straight to me. Like first wave, I was like, holy shit. And then I didn't think I was going to make the takeoff, and then it kind of, because it felt like it was going to break on my back, and then it kind of backed off last second and let me in, and then I just pulled up, and yeah, it's just such a beautiful round barrel, and probably got stuck, like just standing there a bit too long. I was kind of trying to pump through it, but the last little foam ball, my board just felt like it just disintegrated under me, and then had to body surf. It's like, it was pretty, like, it was a good feeling body surfing out, but at the same time, I was just like, fuck, what have I done? I've just like butchered the sickest one. But no, it was still cool. That's what makes it all so fun, is that you can't you can't make them every time, and you can't get the good wave every time. So when it does happen and comes together, it's pretty cool.
Oh man, I don't think you butchered that. I think you did well to even get into it. I didn't think you were going to get under it and get the knife in. So just to get as far through that tube as you did, I thought it was an incredible effort. Far out, man. It was such a consequential wave. I can't believe that was first wave of the session. That's mind blowing, man. To it just speaks to where your surfing's at, to be able to like not have even had your feet in the wax and put yourself in a situation that critical.
Oh, cheers. No, I think everyone would go off that wave. It was so perfect. Like, there's no way you couldn't go.
And yeah, that backside Staley I mentioned earlier, you know, one of the most technical moves there is. Yeah, talk us through that thing.
Um, I mean, it was a pretty shitty version of the ones Ian Crane does. I just saw the ones he does, and they're so tapped. And I was just sort of trying to do something nearby. I didn't really get there, but yeah, they feel pretty cool. It's like I don't know, the way he does it's just so insane. It's like a real acrobatic, corked out, like almost like a flip. So yeah, one day it'd be cool to try and make one, but I'm not very close yet. But yeah, it was nice to like stick one that was at least sort of got the grab. But yeah, I mean his ones are freaking phenomenal. Yeah, go check those airs out. They're so insane.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think anyone.
probably. Yeah, one of my favorite surfers in the world right now for sure. He's kind of the 2.0 Corey Lopez prototype with that fucked up, super corked backside air reverse rotation he gets is so mental, and he's got such a pure style too. He's such a good surfer.
Yeah, he's unreal. Yeah, he's really good, really stylish, and then obviously does amazing airs and power turns and stuff.
And another standout section from Wandering, that hectic onshore slab fest. I think it's you and Hanada gaffed up. Man, that was fucking as evil as it gets, especially, you know, for a guy who's broken his leg in circumstances, you know, different to that. But mate, obviously not a whole lot of fear kicking around the recesses of your brain.
Oh, it was a fair bit. Fair few pullbacks I kept out, emitted from the clip. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what we're thinking. It's when we watched the footage back, we're like, fuck, it was really bad out there. I don't know what we're doing, but we're just frothing at the time. Like, oh yeah, there's some like almost makeable barrels. There's a couple out there. And we'd been surfing this other wave that was like a lot bigger and heavier, and it was like kind of like, oh, this looks a bit more fun and nice. And then we'd go out and just get absolutely flogged. And like, fuck, like can't catch a break around here. It's just getting smoked everywhere. So yeah, that was kind of the backstory. But yeah, watching the footage back, I'm not really sure what we're doing. We're just getting belted. But yeah, it was still a bit of fun.
Yeah, man, it's like literally awful. It's like the worst, most injurious conditions you could ever dream up. It's like fucking 6 to 8 foot, like triple stepping onshore, fucking chandelier nightmares. But you managed to make one that looks like it's going to literally take your head off, but you squeaked inside it and got the victory, got the vision.
Yeah. Got a little bit of edge. I actually had one wave that session. I just jumped off and snapped my board, and then I had a quad fin board, and I only brought one set of quad fins, and it snapped the board and like ripped every single one of my fins out. I was like, fuck, there goes my quad set. So I I packed it up after that wave.
It's bizarre. How does that even happen? I'm just thinking about the mechanics of like how's that possible?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm pretty often.
So weird. And man, like as I mentioned, like your front side knife is up there with the very best in the world, like John, Nate Florence, like it's in that echelon. You know, talk to us about the evolution of that skill set.
I mean, I don't think it's that good, but I think it's just, I guess you surf a lot of rights on the Goldie. You don't get like huge rights. You sometimes do, but not often. But you get like a lot of little sort of slabby beach break or point breaky rights. So I suppose it's pretty natural to the area. I mean, you got to do a lot of kind of late drops on the forehand, and I suppose you can just sort of scale it up when you go to other places. I was pretty lucky through Billabong as well to spend a lot of time in Hawaii, through their like Bloodlines programs, and then staying at the house for the QSs and stuff. So got to do a lot of time out at backdoor and off the wall. And yeah, I mean, surfing waves like that, they're always pretty heavy and hard to make the drop. So over time, you slowly figure it out, watching all the good guys out there and how they do it, and yeah, eventually you kind of get the skills yourself and actually make a few instead of going over the fours.
Fuck, you make a few in that film, man. There's a crazy one at Stratty, and there's also a crazy one, I think it's at the box, that is just so vertical, such a big wave, and you're fully knifing and backdooring a wave that it almost looks like it's getting a chandelier on top of you. I think you remember the wave. It's shot from a couple of different angles. Fuck, it's harrowing, man. What are your memories of that thing?
Yeah, that was a really cool wave. That was my best wave at the box for sure. I'd surfed it a couple times before that and just gotten so flogged out there every time. So I was like a little bit scared of the wave going back out there. I was like, fucking, this joint's pretty full on. The time before I like hit my head on the reef, like cut my head, and then
Fuck.
that session I snapped a board and had to like run in and get another one. And I was kind of having a shocker. And then that wave came and I was kind of underneath everyone, and we were paddling out to it. And then like last second, it just sort of looked like it had a bit of an entry. So I thought I'd have a go. And if it looked like it was too full on, I'd be able to kind of like jump off because it was kind of, the box kind of has like that little bit out the back that chips in, and then it's got the real thick bowl on the end. So I thought like if worst case, I'd be able to just jump and like eject it out of there on the back bit and not get too. And then I went to get up. It was like kind of not too bad. Had a nice entry, and then yeah, the rest I kind of just got to stand there. It was actually like pretty easy once I got up. So yeah, it was a really cool wave. I was stoked to get that one after copping a fair few beltings out there beforehand.
Man, how do you hold your nerve on a drop that vertical and that consequential? Like, what are you seeing, and how do you kind of how do you keep your technique and avoid glitching out?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's just like you just over time you just figure it out, and then you kind of learn intuitively like what you can do and what you can't do. And then you watch guys doing like 10 times crazier shit, either on bodyboards or like Nathan Florence doing it on like surfboards. I get that right he had the other day. That was like freaking 15 foot and square. So like you kind of see other people you're doing it, and you're like, fuck, I just got to try and have a go at one. Even if it's on a smaller scale. And then yeah, sometimes you get smoked, but then eventually you kind of like slowly work out like the sweet spot where you can get the edge in and make it. And then yeah, sometimes you kind of know, you're like, all right, this is too steep, I'm just going to jump. And then sometimes it's like you go, oh shit, it could be pretty steep, and you stand up, and then it kind of backs off and it's easy. So it's just like, I guess it's just a bit of like research that you got to do to figure out where the line is and what's possible. And then it's kind of fun figuring it out. Like it's different at every wave. Some waves it's like easier than others and it looks hard, and some waves it's really hard and you got to like kind of take off in a spot that doesn't seem like the right spot to take off. So yeah, there's a lot to it, but it's so fun figuring it all out. And then yeah, you can draw a lot from watching guys that are way better than you do it. You just copy them.
Yeah, and in terms of, hitting your head on the bottom, copping a gash, breaking boards, and then still having the temerity to get back out there and attack a wave like that, like, what is the theory there? What's the what's the strategy or the mental kind of game that you play with yourself to enable you not to get rattled and get back out there and have a crack? Because you see people get rattled and they honestly they can't go back to that wave. You see it with Toledo at Chopes. You see it fairly regularly where people just get so worked over by a joint that that's it for them. They're done with it.
Yeah, yeah. Fuck. I mean, if I got flogged enough, I'd probably be in the same boat. But I don't know. I think you just maybe there's a bit of ego in it. You don't want to feel like defeated by the place, and then I don't know. It feels like it just eats away at me, especially like with the injury at Pipe. That was the first thing on my mind. It's like I can't. I'm not going to surf that place again. Like I got to go back and I got to make it happen. Um, and I think it's just yeah, maybe it's an ego thing. I don't even know, but you just don't want to. You just don't want to let it defeat you. Like I can't just like live in defeat. I got to go back and like face that fear and try and confront it. And that's not to say to go and be stupid. Like you can take it easy and ease your way back into it, and then build your confidence up that way. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of just putting yourself back in that place and building yourself up. It's like another challenge, and you get that same fulfillment when you feel like you conquer the fear and get a good ride. It's almost better than just getting a good ride when you're feeling comfortable.
Mm. Yeah, and there seems to be some weird universal truth or kind of pat on the back you get from the universe when you get dealt a setback and you're able to regather and push through that hardship and kind of get to the other side of that setback. It seems like you almost get rewarded for that second effort and that persistence. Have you felt that?
Yeah, I definitely think I mean, what do they say? The darkest hours right before the dawn. I mean, I feel like you just get, I don't know, you get a lot of fulfillment out of the little steps back to where you were after a big setback, and then that appreciation for all the little things almost like culminates in like a better outlook for yourself, and then better performance in the future. But it's tough. Like there's no fun way of coming back from an injury or a setback or anything of that nature. But yeah, it definitely does teach you things, as corny and cliche as that is. You literally get stripped back to the beginning, and you kind of like learn to surf again from the start on a quick learning curve and a quick trajectory. So it's pretty cool in that respect. And yeah, you gain like a great appreciation for the ocean, and you see it in a different light. You're not trying to own it, but then you obviously, you got to push yourself at times as well. So I think you just get a bit more of an understanding of like the relationship you've got with the ocean and the way you've got to go about surfing heavier waves and even just surfing waves in general. You can hurt yourself doing a floater on a 2-footer as just as easily as getting flogged on a 10-footer. So yeah, you never know. You never know when it's going to happen. Unfortunately, it seems like in sport, surfing, anything, that's kind of an inevitability. It's more about how you deal with it and how you come back from it.
Yeah, it's such a good point, that appreciation of all the small steps that go into making a recovery, but also like, during that recovery phase, you're also able to sit there and I'm sure you're just playing over the sequence of events that led to your injury over and over again. And you know exactly where you made the error eventually. And I guess there's growth in that. Because when that situation comes up again, you're probably not going to make that error the same way twice.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you almost want to, like, once you kind of realize what you did, you almost want to be put back in that position as like as soon as possible, so you can like rectify it and then feel like, all right, I'm not going to do that again. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's almost an inevitability getting injured sometimes. It's just part and parcel. But yeah, it's just one of those things that you gotta deal with, and pretty much everyone goes through it in sports. So there's a lot of good wisdom to draw on. And yeah, you just got to treat it as another one of those challenges that you can kind of get a lot of fulfillment out of at the end.
Mm. And yeah, what was some of the wisdom, or what did you lean on during that comeback from the injury at Backdoor? Obviously, like one of the worst scenarios I've ever heard of in fucking sport in general was that, after toiling so hard to get to the world tour and breaking your leg on the eve of what was pretty much the best event I've ever seen at Pipeline. Being a young man, like it just doesn't get more heartbreaking than that. Who helped you out, and kind of, can you take us through a bit of the recovery process from that injury?
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously really lucky to have a lot of good support through Surfing Australia, and then obviously my coaches and my family back home. So I didn't feel like everyone was writing me off, going, "Oh, you're done, career's over." Like I had that good positive energy around me to begin with. Like, I had guys like Paul Widerson, who's the physio at the HBC, telling me like, "Fuck, you're gonna be back surfing. It's just a matter of rehabbing." So that was to know that I was going to be able to surf again, and it wasn't like a full career ender, was a bit of a silver lining for me. I mean, I'm definitely like a surfer first and foremost. Even if I wasn't competing, I'd still want to be able to surf. So I'd be pretty freaking devastated if that was like, "Oh, you're never going to surf again." But yeah, so I was lucky in that respect. I had a lot of good positive things to look forward to. I was like, "All right, I'm going to be back. It's not going to fully screw me for the rest of my life." And then I guess it was just getting in there and just trying to do it. Like, well, what happened? The worst bit was the first part of the injury. Once I did the injury, I went to hospital, had surgery that day or that night. When I was waiting for surgery, I made the mistake of flicking on the contest on the TV. And I remember when I first flicked it on in this wave, there's just this perfect left peeling with no one on it, then it spat, and I just assumed it was like some sort of promo in the ad break. And it was just a wave that no one went. It was like a little inside. I was like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me." Because when I left the beach, it was pretty wonky and weird in the morning. It hadn't like the offshore hadn't blown yet. And yeah, I was just like, was in the hospital like, "Are you fucking serious? Is this real? Like that looks like it looks fake. It's like that good out there." So that was shit. And then yeah, I got the surgery done. That was all good, which was fortunate too. Guy called Dr. Chang in Hawaii is an absolute legend. I think he's done work on. I think he did B. Durbage's pelvis when he broke his pelvis as well. So he's a really
Wow.
good surgeon. And yeah, got me in there that night. It was pretty awesome. So that was all kind of taken care of. So it was a bit of like a weight off the shoulders. I wasn't like waiting around trying to get surgery. And then I pretty much just had to wait another week to fly out. So I was just sort of chilling on the deck at the Billabong house watching the comp, which was sick and then also shit at the same time. But I think after that, like going through that, having to watch it, the comp that you're like, "Fuck, I should have been in that, getting blown out of barrels," but I wasn't. After that, it was like, all right, well, that's got to be the worst of it. Now I can kind of get stuck in and start working towards surfing again. And yeah, kind of just got addicted to doing the rehab. I had some really good support. Got in the gym a lot. Just did other stuff that I wouldn't normally do. Did a bit of study and just tried to distract myself as much as I could. And I actually didn't. The whole time I couldn't surf, I didn't go to the beach once, which I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I just completely got into other parts of my life and doing other things. And before I knew it, I was back surfing again.
Mate, it's one of the great comeback stories. Like, you could have been super down and been having a massive whinge about not getting the injury wild card, but instead you just went straight back on the Challenger Series, fucking breezed it in, got straight back on the World Tour. And then next minute you're at Pipe, and it wasn't the best Pipe comp, but your heats, you got a couple of nugs like at Pipe and got a 9th place. Talk to us about how satisfying it was to get back to Hawaii, like you mentioned, and prove to yourself that you can do this, and not only that you can do it, that you actually did do it, and you got a solid result there.
Yeah, thanks. No, it was pretty cathartic to go that full circle and end up back at the same comp where I busted myself up. So even though it was pretty shit house, it was just like I was so stoked to be there. I was like, "Fuck, this is epic!" Like I'm out here surfing the Pipe Masters. Like that's been my dream since I was a kid. So yeah, I didn't even care if I didn't make a heat. I was just like, I can tick that one off now and be pretty happy. And then yeah, I kept making a couple heats and I was just, it was like that happy-go-lucky kind of feel where you're just stoked to be there. And you're not too fast about losing. You're kind of just taking it all in and enjoying the ride.
Do you remember your first surf back at Pipe and Backdoor when it was solid after the injury?
Yeah, that I actually did. I had a session because we had the Challenges Series event at Haleiwa. And I just decided like as soon as it's breaking and it looks half decent, I got to get out there and just catch one. And I didn't want to think on it too long. I just wanted to like get into the lineup and then just pull into one, and even if I didn't make it, just pop up and be okay, hopefully. And that's pretty much just what I did. I paddled out, and then there's kind of like a wide one that came as I was paddling out. Everyone missed it. I was like, all right, this is it. And just sort of spun, went. I didn't come out, but just popped up. It was sweet. And then that was pretty much it. It like was like a big wave of relief or big weight off the shoulders after that. It's almost better that I didn't make it. Like just sort of wipe out and then pop up and be okay. It was like, all right, it's not I'm not gonna break my leg every wave out here. It was actually a freak occurrence. And yeah, literally like that. Because I'd had some like I'd been to Indo and surfed some kind of heavy waves before that. So I knew I was probably going to be sweet. It was more just like the voodoo of surf and pipe and not knowing what was going to happen. So yeah, it was just like as soon as I got the first wave out of the way, I was pretty much fine.
And yeah, the actual injury itself, like what happened? So it's the morning of that pipe comp, right?
Yeah, so it was so trippy. That day in the morning was pretty bad. Like it was really backwashy. It was cross shore. It'd been like I think it had been onshore, pretty strong onshore the night before, and then it was like that lumpy morning sickness sort of feel. I was just out there trying to get a bit of a warm up because I was in like the third heat or something like that, and it was packed. There was so many people out there. I was just so off it. I was like, fuck, I can't even get a wave. So I just got this like kind of double uppy. It's like probably only like a 4-footer, and it just doubled right up and had a fair bit of juice in it, but it wasn't like a gnarly wave or anything. And I just took that and like pulled in, and I was in the barrel, and then it kind of like went to spit, but at the same time, like a backwash sort of came through the wave. And I don't know, like sometimes, yeah, like you know those ones where they breathe and then like slap shut at the end. It was one of those things, and it kind of like spat and then backwashed and breathed, and the backwash sort of like lifted me up off my board, lifted my back foot off my board. So at that point, I kind of had my front foot on the board and then my hand on the rail, like pig dog. And then it kind of, I don't know how it happened. It happened exactly, but it like pushed my back foot kind of forwards and under me like a rolled ankle. So my toes were like down, and then yeah, I was like toes down, kind of like flexed the wrong way, and then the wave clamped shut, and it just like forced me down like that. My toes pretty much touched my calf muscle, and I just heard it like click 3 times. I went, oh no, and then my whole leg kind of went numb. And then I thought it like I was freaking out. I thought it like bent my, you know, those ankle dislocations, and you like the foot, you see like basketball players do it. And I thought I did that. I was like, oh my God. And then touched my foot. It all felt sweet. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm all good. And because I was kind of like the adrenaline was up and my foot felt numb. And I got to the beach and then like tried to stand up, and it just was so sore. And I was just like, all right, I think I'm done here. And then yeah, this guy Jay works on the he like does the setup for the events. He's like this real big buff dude. He came down and like carried me up the beach, like lifted me up and just carried me on his back all the way up the beach. And luckily the doctor that was on site was the surgeon, and he was just there at the beach in the morning, and he just checked it out and went, oh yeah, I think you've broken it. I'll check into my hospital and come and sort you out tonight. So it was like, as shit as it was also like perfect because you know there was a doctor on the beach, there was people to help me out. I wasn't just in the middle of nowhere, just like completely stranded. So I mean, I was trying to like look at the positives. I was like, yeah, this could be really fucked if I couldn't, if I was stuck at some remote wave and
Yeah.
out of here. So
Fuck.
yeah.
Can you imagine, if it happened at somewhere like Cruy and you just like on the green whistle for 8 hours? Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, ouch. Yeah, that's crazy, man. The way you're describing that, like, I kind of know the wave you're talking about in my mind. Like, you know, those morning sessions at backdoor and pipe when a swell's filling in and it's been a bit windy overnight, like that morning sickness, it's famous for that. And it's the desperados like yourself and myself to a degree who are out there trying to pinch one. And just that the backwash, the flare, the spit, like all those things happening in an instant, and it's just like it goes from being a nugget to being just an explosion of energy. And
Yeah.
if you're not perfectly positioned in that moment, then you're almost certainly going to get hurt or hit the bottom really hard.
Yeah, it's a sketchy wave like that because it's so shallow, and then you get that like reverb off the beach. There's little backwashes and bits of imperfection that can just fully bring you unstuck. So yeah, I mean, as everyone knows, it's a dangerous spot, and there's been a lot of bad injuries there, but it's also a sick wave, so it keeps us coming back and keeps everyone entertained. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's just like an unfortunate timing with the backwash and the clamp of the wave.
And a building swell too. Like, although it probably wasn't as big as it, or definitely wasn't as big as it got throughout the day, like that energy, the period would have still been there. There would have been plenty of cuss in it.
Yeah, it's just, the feel. It's just like that funky morning sickness, and then there's like a lot of double up in the wave. There's heaps of energy. There's all this backwash. There's not, yeah, it's just kind of ugly conditions. I probably wouldn't surf it normally. It was just that it was the comp was just trying to get a few warm up waves, feel the board out, and yeah, shouldn't have done that.
Fuck, man. And you mentioned you did a bit of study during the recovery process. So yeah, you actually did quite well at school, right? Like I understand you got, pretty much high enough grades to study medicine, but you chose a different path. What was the thinking there? Are you still doing a bit of study, or you put on the back burner?
Oh, I didn't quite get high enough marks for medicine, but I'm liking that rumor's getting around. That's a good bit of fake news, but got decent marks and got into uni. And then because I was never like the next big thing or anything as a junior. So I wasn't sure. I was always keen to give it a crack on the QS, but I wasn't sure how I was going to go and if it was going to be a waste of time or not. So had the degree set up and just deferred it for a few years, and then just kept deferring it until COVID actually, and picked up a few units, and then I've just been on and off. But yeah, it's cool. Like when it works, it's cool. Like when you get those gaps, like COVID obviously is a random gap in time and kind of like dedicate yourself to it. And then when I was injured, it worked perfect. But it's been a bit tricky traveling. It's definitely doable. Like if you've got the discipline and you've got the motivation, it's achievable. But yeah, for me, I've just sort of kind of been in one foot in, one foot out. Most of the time, just been deferring and focusing on the surfing. But yeah, I guess that was a cool part of the injury and kind of a fortunate thing that I had the degree kind of sitting there on the back burner, and I could kind of just get stuck into that and get my mind off the surfing. And yeah, like times like that, it's nice to have something outside of the surf world. I think it's probably important. It doesn't have to be study, but like just another hobby and something else you do just to keep your mind off surfing, because you can definitely, like, especially when you're doing it competitively, like it's almost like blending your pleasure with your work, and it can kind of sour it sometimes. Definitely, like when you're on a shocker and you're not having good results, you don't feel like you're surfing good, like it definitely can ruin it for you. So it's nice to have those other avenues to go and spend your time when the surfing's not right, instead of kind of burning yourself out and just falling out of love with the sport.
Yeah. Why do you? It's a common story. You hear it a lot, but why do you think that is? Is it because you just can't switch off that really self-critical part of your brain when you go surfing, even though you're just going surfing, but ultimately, like, you're so attuned to surfing at your best and even surfing beyond your best that there's just this kind of critical component that makes it impossible to enjoy the purity of just connecting with energy and riding away.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, you get so stuck in your own head about trying to do stuff better every time. Then you ride a wave and you don't surf it as good as you want to. And it just feels shit. You just kick off like, fuck, that sucked. And like you said, you just lose a bit of connection with just how cool it is to stand on a bit of foam on some water. So yeah, it's tough. It's like a balancing act sometimes, where you gotta have those ways to keep it fun. It might be a different board or go and surf some novelty waves or ride different crafts, bodyboard, surfboard, freaking longboard, whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, if you like day in, day out, just grinding it out on the shorty, trying to whack them, like you can get pretty over it, especially when you're getting tired. You're just like, fuck, I suck. I'm so sick of how I surf. So yeah, I don't know, you got to mix it up just to keep it enjoyable, because it's pretty hard to switch that inner critic off. I think everyone's got it, but yeah, it's just when it's your job, you kind of you're just on your own case all the time, and yeah, you can be your own worst critic for sure.
It's so crazy because, the level to which you guys surf and you're surfing in particular, it's so watchable. It's quite, I don't know, it's got a kind of surprising aspect to it, almost unpredictable in the way that you're able to mesh really savage turns with style and stuff like that. So from a layman, it seems so odd that you could get so down on yourself, but I also understand it at the same time. But it just goes to show like the power of perception to mask reality and your own perception of things, because results aren't going your way and this and that isn't going your way. You start to buy into that inner critic, that negative voice that's fucking bullshit. That voice that cunt's full of shit. He can't be
Yeah.
listened to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's like, I mean, once the skills are there, it's like so much in your head. You're always watching other people, comparing yourself, and like you said, like your perspective on it all just has such a big part in how you surf. Even like if you feel good and you're just having fun, you surf good pretty much. And obviously it's a lot harder than just saying to yourself to feel like that, to tap into that feeling. But yeah, it is weird. I mean, you watch someone at the skate park just ripping in a bowl, and you're like, fuck, how that'd just be so fun to be able to do that. But then they're probably like, fuck that, fuck this, and they just, instead it's like, how sick is this? I'm just floating in the air. But yeah, I think it's like you said, it's all perception and all perspective. So if you can, I don't know, if you can get your head right and get your view right on it all, you can definitely get your best out of yourself. And yeah, those top guys, top competitive guys, at least that I've sort of gotten to see in the last year, they definitely have that down. Like someone like Felipe, I swear he didn't surf. I swear he didn't free surf at all this year. I swear I saw him out free surfing before comps like twice, and he just hop up, like chuck the rashy on, get out there in his heat, and just drop nines off the bat. It's pretty wild, but I guess he's just like, probably helps him with his perspective. He's just frothing when he gets to surf in his heat and doesn't burn himself out doing the free surf. So yeah, there's plenty of ways to go about it, but I think you're right. If you get your head right, then the rest follows.
Man, that's a really fascinating insight. And he's a guy who, has struggled with the mental toll of competing at that level and all that comes with it, the traveling and the various sacrifices. And, I guess his recent performances just go to show how big of an impact getting the psychology right is. I mean, the guy's untouchable and seemingly so mentally resilient after years of toiling, where he wasn't so much. And I mean, looking at your momentum at the moment, it looks like you're building nicely. Obviously you had the setback with the injury, but then, this year was a really solid year on tour for you. I thought you made the cut. I think you got, what was it, a fifth or a ninth? It's a pipe, was a fifth, wasn't it?
Yeah, I got a fifth at pipe. But yeah, never, like, it was pretty grovelly. I think I was getting through on totals of 6 and stuff. But yeah, fifth at pipe, then a bunch of shit results. Then I think I got a ninth at Margie's. And that was
Yeah.
enough to scrape by.
Yeah. And then a third at El Salvador. Great result. It was a really epic moment in that event, actually. This buzzer beater you pull off, I think you needed like a high six, a 6.8 or something. And yeah, you kind of just breezed it in. Got the score after the siren, didn't even claim it. Such a such a lackadaisical approach. And then the ninth at Chopes, where you lost to the event winner Jack Robbo. But yeah, what were the big lessons from 2023?
I think for me it was like, I mean, there's a lot of that like mental stuff because you're surfing with such good surfers all the time. It's so easy. I mean, I'm already pretty critical of myself to begin with, but it's so easy to just get so down on your surfing when you're like out having a free surf and you got Ethan doing the sickest rail turns ever, and then Italo's doing full rotes every wave, and you're like, fuck, like I can't compete with either of those things. So you kind of like, shit, like, am I meant to be here? Like, there's a lot of doubt, and yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky to navigate that because it's only natural to watch everyone else and go, fuck, well, if he's doing that now, like he's gonna smoke me in the heat. But I think the big learning was like, even if you're having a shocker in the free surfs, it really doesn't translate. Like El Salvador, I was surfing like a pig in all the surfs, like I could barely put it together, and then got my best result. So it was, and then I had comps where I was like, oh, I'm so on this comp, and then would lose first heat. So I think that warm up stuff, you can't read into it too much. You got to just get out, get out the information you need, like which board you're going to ride, where you're going to sit, all that kind of crap. And then beyond that, like you can't read into it too much. And then the other thing was just like managing your time and managing yourself on the lay days. Because on the Challenger and the QS, like there's no such thing as a lay day. It's, you wake up, it's half a foot and garbage, you're out there and you're grinding your heat out. It's just like it's on no matter what. Whereas the CT, it's very picky. You don't know when you're going to surf. You can have like, I think Brazil is like 5 days off in a row, and just like trying to stay clicked in. It's pretty weird because you'll do your prep and get ready for heat one, and surf, get through whatever, and then it's like, all right, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling clicked in, I've got my routine set, and then it's off for 5 days, and you kind of like your subconscious almost switches off. You're like, fuck, what am I even doing here? Like, are we still doing the comp, or like what's going on? Even though you're trying to keep yourself together and keep it all keep all the cogs turning, so to speak. It's quite tricky to have all those days off and then show up again and still rip. I found that tricky. So yeah, I don't have the answer to how you how you deal with that, but it's hard. Like I feel like my surfing kind of goes like that, and I'll have like peaks and troughs, and yeah, those lay days throw it out. But you're like, fuck, I was ripping a few days ago. Now I feel like shit, and I can't even get to the beach on one. So yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the solution to that, but that will probably be the biggest takeaway.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be pretty excited if I were you. Just watching that film or rewatching that film, it kind of dawned on me how versatile and just how cutting edge you surfing is. Like, I think you're kind of going under the radar a bit, which is also pretty nice at that level. And given the run you've had, and it feels like from where I'm sitting that your surfing is definitely good enough to be counted in that top 10 if it all comes together. So that kind of just means it's a matter of emotional maturity and getting the psychology of it right. And, knowing that you're an astute guy who, applies himself well, whether it's, school or university. Yeah, it seems to me like it's going to click in for you. And, yeah, it's probably going to be this year and in the coming years if you can just fucking survive that cut, which is, yeah, I mean, how are you feeling about all that? How are you feeling about the tour in 2024? Couple changes. No J-Bay's got to hurt because, you had a crack at it this year. It was pumping. You got edged out by Kanoa Igarashi. I thought you surfed really well, but he's pretty incredible out there. Yeah, so how are you feeling about 2024, the tour, the schedule? No J-Bay, but Cloudbreak, Chopes and Piper in there.
Yeah, fuck, the cut's always stressful but No, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, Pipe's doing its thing next year. Be sick to get that joint in a heat pumping. I've never really surfed it really good in a heat, so that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, you never know what you're going to get. But yeah, I'd be really keen to get past the cut, obviously. But I really want to go to Chopes and Fiji. Those two joints are so sick. So yeah, I'd be pretty keen to get past and go to those events. But no, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. So I mean, I'm still kind of like I don't feel like I've settled in on the tour. Like I still feel like I've just come off the QS. So even to just go and have a comp in sick waves is pretty cool. Still getting used to actually surfing good waves a lot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And where do you feel like you've made improvements on the technical front in terms of performance? Like, what are you focusing on in your surfing? What are you happy with? What are you looking to improve on?
I've been trying to figure out how to do a frontside air, but I think I've been going backwards. So I'm not. I might put that in the bin and just go back, try and figure out a few more rail turns. But no, just trying to get a few more turns in the arsenal to not look too similar to last year. I don't know that there seems to be. I don't know whether it's just because everyone talks about it and it's like a psychological thing or not. But there seems to be that second year curse where I don't know what it is if the judges get bored of your surfing or I don't know you just plateau or what goes on. But there's so many guys like have that tough second year on tour and fall off or just barely scrape it together and stay on. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably got something to do with you got to bring a few new turns to the table and keep the judges interested. So yeah, literally just trying to have a couple of other like different turns that I can go to on the face. That might be a little bit unique and exciting and hopefully milk an extra half point out of the judges.
Yeah. And good to see you enjoying your R&R too, man. I ran into it at Wildlife down there at Bangalore with it was a sick gig, wasn't it? How fucked up was it? The space jazz aficionados.
Yeah, those guys are incredible. That was sick. Stoked to see you down there. No, I've been enjoying it. Seen a few bands. Got a record player. Been buying some vinyl.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
epic.
yeah. But yeah, it's cool. I love my music. So yeah, those guys were sick. If you get to check them out, check out Wildlife. They're fucking insane.
Mind melting. What are you listening to at the moment? Fire out. They had the maddest selection of vinyl at that show. Actually, I was
Yeah,
looking at how do you say Michaels, El Mitchell's Affair, Atlan Gun, that Turkish fucking what do you call it? I don't know what you call this stuff. Acid jazz, space jazz. I don't know, but there's all this mad instrumental music movement, and they're all kind of it's sick how they all buddy up and sell each other's records and kind of put each other
yeah,
on bills and gigs. And Glass Beams is another one, Melbourne band. They're fucking
yeah.
insane.
Yeah, I've been listening
Brutal.
to a bit of them after you put me onto them. They're real good. Liking their music. But yeah, that little record sale they had at the back of the gig was nuts. They had so many good records there. I walked in because I'd been buying a few, and I was like, "Fuck, I got to save my money a bit. I'm getting a bit stupid here." And walked into the freaking gig room, and the record sale. I was like, "Oh my god, you gotta be fucking kidding me! I'm gonna do well to get out of here without one."
Oh
But
mate.
yeah, I had a good look through there. They had some good stuff. But I've actually been listening to the Stranglers a bit.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
I want to get that Rattus Norvegicus album. Be pretty sick. But yeah, a bit of 80s.
True.
I don't even know what genre they are, but I've been getting into their music lately.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I only know them for the Golden Brown, that song about heroin, I think, which is so iconic. Like that's the greatest, one of the great tracks of all time. But I didn't actually, I've never tapped into one of their albums in its entirety. So that's a mad tip. I'm gonna tap
Yeah,
in.
tap in. They've got some real good stuff. Their keyboard player, his name's Dave Greenfield. He passed away a couple of years ago. I might be getting that wrong, but he's insane. Like some crazy key solos and cool, like heaps of cool instrumentals in the middle of their songs. So yeah, check it out. I reckon you'll like them.
Do you play any instruments?
I actually don't. I wish I'd put the time in. It's not too late. Probably should pick it up, but I know I've been pretty lazy on it. I just like listening for now. But yeah, I'd love to get into it one day. Um, but yeah, no cool instrumental talent to report on, unfortunately.
Mm. And the other big news out of that gig, man, it's kind of straight from the pages of New Idea, but Sophie McCulloch, your girlfriend, that's a skits power couple right there. Might be the greatest Gold Coast pro surfing power couple since Jelana Chard, Jack and Alana Blanchard.
Yeah, hanging out with Soph. Not sure what she's thinking hanging out with me, but I'm pretty stoked.
I had to sting you that one on the way out. Sick, mate. Well, thanks so much for your time. And, mate, I have all the faith in the world that you're building to a really solid and decorated world tour career. I think your surfing's absolutely undeniable. So, yeah, I just hope the waves show up and you get scoring opportunities, because I think that I think you're going to do some damage. It really seems like that. You've got that really nice balance of progressive, elite, sharp, consistent, variable surfing, and the emotional maturity that's so essential to putting it all together in a heat.
Oh, cheers, Smith. Thanks for having me on. It's been good to have a chat.
Fucking oath, Lobby. All right. Godspeed, brother. Take care.
You too, mate. Look after yourself.